Hi everyone, welcome to an Earthbound Alien Shorts. In this episode, we'll listen to In My Humble Opinion from episode 3. Enjoy. Okay, hopefully the distraction will subside. Anyway, this is going to be real fast because I think I dealt with this. I've said it. It's done to death in the previous segment. But in my humble opinion, really, this whole thing about people being offended about everything bothers me for one reason and one reason only. I don't care if you're offended. I really don't. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't give a damn if you want to be offended about something that I say or do. That's your problem. That's your issue to deal with, in the sense that that's your feelings that you have to justify. I don't need to justify anything to you. But the part that bothers me is when companies, municipalities, organizations, universities, because you, an individual, are offended, you write a offending letter to the powers that be, and they cancel an event because of your offense. It deprives other people from enjoying what they may want to enjoy, whether it's a lecture or anything like that. As I said before in the first segment, I agree with limits on free speech. Speech isn't free by any stretch of the imagination. People have fought wars and revolutions over the ability and access to free speech. People have died defending the right of free speech. One of the things that I see as my service in the Canadian Armed Forces for 10 years, between 1980 and 1990, was part of what I was defending during the Cold War, was free speech. Not the only thing. I wasn't, at that time, late teens, early 20s, I wasn't so idealistic to think that was specifically what I was there for. I wanted the adventure and the fun. But I always knew that service was important. And part of that service, part of your oath, part of your commitment, was to defend the rights of Canadians. And one of the rights that we have within our charter, within our Constitution, is the ability to speak openly. And almost every free country in the West has that same ability, that same clause, if you will, section within their constitutional hierarchy. The ability for them, the ability for individuals to speak freely about whatever subject that they feel is important to them. The ability to assemble and protest something they feel strongly about. Unless, anyway, I'm not even going to mention what's going on in the US right now because they have their own special problems. And I feel bad for them. But that being said, just because I might disagree with someone as they are speaking openly and freely, doesn't mean that I should be offended about it. I may not like what they have to say. They don't care if I like it or not. That's my issue. And as in the previous segment, I am quite willing to say, well, I disagree with you. Let's have a conversation about that. Tell me why you think this is like that. And I will tell you why I think this is like that. And let's have a tea. Let's have a coffee. We'll go for a beer. And we talk. We discuss. Just because someone is offended doesn't mean that something needs to stop. When I hear a municipality pulling the plug on an event because 3 or 4 people wrote letters, ooh, you have 1 to 3 million people in a municipality and 3 people or even 300 people wrote letters condemning the individual's right to speak because they disagree with it. And all of a sudden you're pulling the plug and the tickets might have been sold out in the thousands? Come on. You, the municipality, and the bureaucracy responsible for that decision, fucked up. Because that is the dumbest thing you could have done. When I hear about a university, and this is even worse, when I hear a university, when a student group gets someone, whether it's within Canada or another country, to come to that university to give a talk on a specific subject, I might even think that that individual is vile and an idiot themselves, and really your ideas and thoughts on race and culture and homophobia and what you think might be a woman's right or not right, I really don't give a damn about. I would disagree with a lot of the stuff. But come on, the students that might be against this person because they're protesting, you know what? Protest all you want. But do not stop the individual from having that discussion amongst his or her supporters, because what you've done is you have in fact bullied the university into canceling those lectures just because you disagree with it. Guess what? Universities used to be, in my day and before, bastions of free speech. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean shit. It's okay to disagree with someone without, you can even write letters. But the fact that you're writing letters demanding that whatever the action is, whatever the speech is, whatever the event is, be canceled because, oh my gosh, you're offended. You have just become your own worst enemy. There's an old saying, be careful what you wish for. Because what you think you want may not actually be what you want. Because there's a slippery slope. And my friends are probably laughing at me right now because, again, I do have limits. I still agree with the laws in Canada that allow for free speech, but there's a limit to the free speech where if it crosses a line and it promotes violence. I'll give you an example. I think that person with that skin color or that accent or that flag should be lynched. You just crossed a fucking line. Problem is, that actually is said a lot. And those people that say that have crossed that line. I no longer promote their ability for free speech. Now I'm offended to the point where I want them charged because that incites violence. And we have seen this shit in the US in the last year, especially. 2020 has not been good for a few countries. It's been worse for them. Black Lives Matter, they have a right to say what they have. They have a right to protest. They have a reason to protest. You may not agree with the protests. You may not agree with the term Black Lives Matter. But you're missing the point. You're disagreeing with them You're offended by them as a group, as in them, as in Black Lives Matter as a group, as an organization. You're offended by that organization because of the name, but you're not considering what that name means to them and what it should mean to every single person who thinks for 5 seconds. Deeply think, as in using your brain cells to realize what that actually means. Those individuals that say all lives matter, yeah, all lives do matter, but it's irrelevant, because what they are talking about when they say Black Lives Matter is the racism, this systemic racism and abuse that they have suffered, the segregation that they have had to put up with in the US and other countries. But because this organization essentially started and grew out of the US experience, we'll just mention that as the example. But because of that, they're fed up with it. They're finally saying, enough. We don't want to be shot because you think I'm a bad person because of my skin color. We don't want to be beaten up or lynched because I got a job and you didn't because of my skin color. Even though 9 out of 10 times it's because of their abilities and their skills and their experience that they got that job. We don't want to be segregated or treated as a second, third, or fourth class citizen in the country that they were born in, that their parents were born in, that their grandparents and great-grandparents and whatever were brought over as slaves. They're tired of it. And that's why they have taken up the moniker Black Lives Matter. It's not a slight on the police and blue lives. It's not a slight on the rest of society. It's an acknowledgement that they're sick and tired of being treated like the non-humans some people treat them as. The Indigenous people in Canada and around, and again, different countries, but let's focus on Canada because we've had some serious issues here. Up until not that long ago, and even up until a couple of weeks ago, the racism and the systemic abuse and systemic race issues that the Indigenous community have faced in this country is appalling. We should be embarrassed. I also have thoughts about within the Indigenous community itself, some issues they have that they need to deal with that they're not admitting to. They're not facing up to their own issues because it's easier to blame the colonialism. Colonialism is a serious issue. It has caused much of what we as a society has done or not done, not supported to specific groups within Canada, specific cultural and ethnic Indigenous groups within Canada. We need to stop. Stop being offended by everything. Just because someone says something, just because somebody puts up a gay pride flag, a rainbow flag on their house, doesn't mean that the entire neighborhood has gone gay. And if it has, who gives a fuck? Are you jealous that nobody's coming on to you? Is that what it is? Because seriously, I couldn't give a rat's ass who someone loves. I couldn't give a rat's ass who someone prays to. I could care less what color their skin is. I don't give a damn what accent they have or what their mother tongue is or where they originally came from. Everyone in this country is a frickin' immigrant. Even the Indigenous population never just, poop, that's it, formed in Canada. If you want to know, look at history, look at anthropology. Humans came from Africa, people. We basically crawled out of the friggin' trees thousands and thousands of years ago and migrated over those thousands of years to various parts of the planet. Things have changed a lot since then, but attitudes, this clickiness that we have, these familiar groups where we break ourselves down into tribes and economic zones and language issues and religious issues. I mean, come on. It's the 21st frickin' century. Grow up already. We're no longer in the trees. We're no longer walking on our knuckles. We walk upright. We speak language, many languages. We are a diverse group of humans. We don't need to behave this way. And you being offended every single time someone says something, to the point where you're going to start letter writing and you're going to form groups and you're going to go out and protest to the point where you want something shut down because you disagree with it. Protest all you want, but don't expect for things to be shut down because of it. Don't expect for a university to cancel a lecture because you disagree with the person. That person might be a racist shit. I agree. But if you're gonna be offended by everything and you're gonna start yelling and screaming and getting these things stopped, you're basically driving the racism underground, which is worse. You want to keep, if people are going to be racist, I'm sorry, I prefer if they're going to be racist out in public, because then we can identify those individuals and avoid them like the plague, no pun intended. We need to stop being offended. And the joke meme going around the internet these days is, oh, Karen's offended again. I get people that actually are called Karen may not appreciate that meme, that joke, and it is kind of bad. But there is one aspect to that that's true. These people that get offended because of your skin color, these people that get offended because of your language, these people that get offended because of your accent, these people that get offended because you're just not like them. You pray to some imaginary God, not like their imaginary God, because their imaginary God is a good God. Yours is bad. They know nothing about you. You shouldn't be offended by them. You should laugh at them and say, are you fucking nuts? Because you know what? That's what they deserve. You flip them the bird or you just ignore them. They're not worth your effort to be upset. They're not worth your time to get upset. Because people like that are not worth the time of day. And you shouldn't be offended just because someone says something. You could be hurt. You should feel sad and disappointed that there are still people like that around. But to be offended by it, they're not worth that offense. And if you're offended because of what I'm saying, again, too bad. That's your issue to deal with. That's your issue. That's your own emotion that you have to deal with. I don't have to deal with your emotions. And I will not deal with your emotions. And feel free to say whatever you want in the comments because I'm not screening them out. But if you agree with me and you see some of these idiotic comments show up in the comments, it's fine. You can say whatever you want in defense or in disagreement, but don't start arguing with these people. They're not worth your time. We need to stop being offended by everybody, by everything. Stop being offended by color. Stop being offended by shape. Stop being offended by language. Stop being offended by a flag. Stop being offended by everything. Just stop. Mind your own freaking business. Enjoy your own life. Enjoy life for the diversity that life brings. I'm not being preachy when I say that. That's the reality. You live on one planet. Until human beings spread and go out and colonize other planets, and at the rate we're going, we're barely going to get off our own planet. But let's say by some strange luck of the draw, we are able to colonize. You know what? I fear at that point in time, because all you're going to have is humans on one planet being offended by somebody on another planet and starting wars between planets. Because you see it happening now on this planet. Bosnia, Herzegovina, the former Yugoslavia. Look at the war that took place there. Ethnic cleansing on both sides. Hundreds of people, into the thousands, dead, murdered. Because of fucking religion? Get a life. Hundreds of people killed. Millions of people killed around the world. I was going to bring up one other example, specific or micro example, but I'm going to go global here. Millions and millions of people around the world are being killed today because somebody's fucking offended because of somebody else's religion. How stupid does that sound? It's time to stop being offended. It's time to stop minding other people's business. Live your own life. Enjoy life. It's the only fucking life you're going to get. Does it make me angry? Damn right it makes me angry. Because it's idiotic to be offended about every single thing. We need to stop. We need to stop fighting each other. Enough. Because personally, I've had it. And I don't hold back. There's no more filter. I'm 57. I use my metric age, 37. Women, 37. Hey. But the reality is, you only have one life. We only have one planet. We need to stop killing each other over stupidity. We need to stop killing each other over being offended. Just stop. And that filter that doesn't exist anymore, when I see that kind of stupidity, I actually say things now. And I know, I'm 6'4", and I'm a fairly powerful individual. I am intimidated. Yes, I have been told that. Very few people will stand up to me. They will walk away. But my point is, it doesn't make any difference your size, your stature. You need to speak up. You need to say something when you see that sort of injustice, when you see that faux offense. You need to say something. It's time for people to stop being offended and go away. Mind your own business. Enjoy your life. And I will enjoy mine. All right? Bye-bye now.